Hi, I'm Fiona.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Julia.
Nice to meet you. I'm
Hi,
Fiona.
Nice to meet you. Come take a seat.
Perfect. Thank you.
Started. Right. So as a part of this mock interview, we're going to focus on instructional practices, classroom management, and professional development learned in our educational psychology. Before we get into all of that, though, we just want to hear a little bit about you and where you're from and what you're about.
Awesome. So I'm from Utah. I was born and raised here, and teaching and education has always been something that has been a big part of my life. My mom is a special ed teacher, and she's been doing it for over 30 years, so she loves it. That's her number one thing, and just seeing her and being able to see how well she does things, how her students respect her, how much she just has love for so many kids, and I really resonate with that. I think it's really an awesome thing. I worked in middle schools, I've worked in high schools, and I've been at the elementary school that I worked at for 3 years, Mount Mahogany Elementary. I have a soft spot for elementary kids. I love them. I'm a big crafter. I just made my nephew a quilt for Christmas. And I just really, being an educator, I just feel like you find so much love and appreciation for what these little kids do every day, and I just really want to show that in my own classroom.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. So the first question we have for you is, how do you incorporate learning theories into your teaching practices? And could you give us a specific example of how a specific theory has informed your instruction?
Yeah, so in our educational psychology class, we learned about Vygotsky's zone of proximal design, and that really resonated with me because it was all about what students can do on their own versus what they can do with the guidance of somebody who has prior knowledge of the subject. So I love seeing students who think that they can't do something or something's too hard for them. I just love seeing them open up and actually try, and then they get to the point where they can do it all on their own. I think a lot of people think that younger students, especially in kindergarten and first grade, I think they kind of think that they're helpless and they can't do much, but in reality, these kids are so capable of doing so many amazing things. In my class, we had a set routine, and we could say a word and the students did it, so they think about it, they know what they're doing, and I think if you let kids do more of their own work, do less, maybe not less guidance or instruction, but you kind of let them take the wheel, I think it's really important, and I think that's something that I really valued in that class, just because they were able to, they found pride in what they were doing, and I think that's a big part of the theory.
Yeah, totally.
That's great. I love that. One of our other questions for you is, how do you assess student learning and adjust your instruction based on assessment data?
Yeah, so every student is different. I think everyone going into education knows that. I think that, not every student is built the same, not every student knows as much, and I think it's really important to look at specific data from a student, so whether that's assessment, whether that's progress monitoring, or whatever is happening in the school. I think they can do individualized instruction, they can meet with a small group if a group of kids are all struggling with the same thing. I think giving that small group or even one-on-one practice, I think that really opens them up to maybe finding out things that they may not have known before, or they learn to ask questions. And so I think putting the data to their specific needs from their assessments, I think that's a really good thing. And I think, building curriculum off of it and building assignments and maybe, having that extra support that they'll need, I think it's really important, because some kids just get caught up in, I don't know this. So then, you can say, well, you knew it here, let's review, let's do it, another time. And I think assessment is a really big thing in helping students know and do that.
Totally. Another question we had for you was, how do you stay current with educational trends and professional development?
Yeah, I think obviously being on the internet there's a million things that you can find for education. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be anything that, you know, your district may use. I think it's really important to kind of browse and see the new things that students are learning, especially because you're not on the same, you know, you're not the same age as your students, so kind of tailoring things that they like into your classroom. I think that's really important. So you could do, you know, a Kahoot, and you can do games, and integrating those fun online learning opportunities really helps students, and I think it keeps them engaged in your classroom. You know, focusing on school policies, policy changes that might come up, I think that's important in keeping your classroom running, and you know, making sure that your students are doing what they need to do under you so they don't fall behind or they don't have problems in their future classes in the school. And I think, you know, focusing on personalized learning, again, like with assessments and other things, I think integrating that and helping them and giving them those tools that they can, you know, work with and use, I think it's really important to just keep your classroom up to date. Obviously, don't do everything online. I think you can do a lot of learning without technology, so I think it's important to, you know, have technology in your class, but also learn and integrate things that they can just think on their own as well.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering our questions. We really appreciate that. And I just have one follow-up question. For when you talked about the students being able to do their own and we should hand a lot more over to them, was there something that surprised you that you've seen working with your kinders or younger grades, just that maybe parents or other teachers might say, oh, they're definitely too little for that and that wouldn't work, but has actually worked out really well in a classroom setting or whatever that is?
Right. We used in the classroom, we used a program called Lexia, and a lot of parents were concerned that it was a little bit too hard for their students. It focuses a lot on phonics and, you know, letter sounds and vowels, and we had a student who was on maybe a higher level than they should have been on in kindergarten. No fault to her, but it was just, she was learning a lot more, she was doing it a lot, and her parents were concerned that maybe she wasn't doing it to her full ability. Maybe she was just, you know, pressing something or getting something. So we wrote it out and we showed the parents, like, your daughter does know her vowels, your daughter does know how to spell sight words without looking. And I think it's really important because obviously parents aren't in there all the time. So just finding that time to say, no, your student really does know a lot of good things about phonics and your student is very smart. Not that her parents weren't questioning how smart she was, but they were just surprised that she was learning certain things in kindergarten. And I think showing them outwardly, hey, we use this program and it's really working well for your daughter, I think they were so much more excited to, you know, oh, my daughter does know sight words, my daughter does know high frequency words, and she's able to spell them. And I think it was really important showing that and knowing that she did this all on her own, she knows it, and she's running with it and doing awesome.
Yes, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Just going off of the question that Grace asked you, I really love at the very beginning how you brought up that a lot of people think that because kids are little or because they're working with kindergartners that they can't do very much. But I love how throughout your questions you kept bringing up the capability of your students, and I could see that you really believe in all your students, no matter their ability level or their diverse learning needs. You believe in them and you know that they're capable of doing challenging things. I also really liked at the end how you mentioned how you contacted parents and involved them in their students' learning. I think that's really important to involve families and parents to know the background of the students. That can be a helpful part in understanding your students and where they come from, and also just in helping the parents trust you and trust that you'll make the right decision for their children, and that I can see that you're capable of working with parents and helping them grow their child at home, as well as you helping their child grow at school too.
Do you have any more questions for us?
I do not. I think I'm good. Thank you so much for having me and this opportunity. Of course.
Perfect.
Thank you.